Every 4 years, we pour billions of dollars and millions of hours into federal elections. We cast our ballots, watch the national returns, and often go right back to feeling like our impact as a single voter is swallowed by an enormous, distant system. That focus on Washington creates a massive blind spot regarding the machinery operating right outside our front doors. We often overlook the specific laws and boards that actually dictate our immediate environment and daily quality of life. Americans possess significantly more true political power and direct influence at this local level than at any other tier of government. Take a look at Washington, D.C. A few years ago, high school students in a program called Street Laws Youth Act discovered a glaring problem in their city. Homeless teens and their families were being forced to wait more than 6 months just to secure a spot in a shelter. These teenagers didn't hire lobbyists. They went straight to their community, surveying constituents to gather data, handing out petitions, collecting warm clothing, and stepping up to the microphone to speak at public rallies. Armed with that ground-level evidence, they stood in front of the city council. They convinced the council members to explicitly alter their spending plan, securing immediate funding for homeless services. A group of teenagers successfully shifted a city's budget because local systems are structurally engineered for proximity and direct citizen access, unlike the barriers typical of federal institutions. To use that proximity, you have to know the boundaries of the map. The largest territorial and political subdivisions in a state are its counties, known as parishes in Louisiana and boroughs in Alaska. These borders are usually governed by elected county boards, with the power to determine massive regional budgets, set taxes, and manage wide-scale services. In Miami-Dade County, Florida, the local government handles everything from the water supply to the entire mass transit network. Inside those massive county borders, states carve out smaller subdivisions. These are cities and municipalities, and their specific powers are defined by local constitutions called charters. At this level, legislative power rests with a city council. They pass the local ordinances that dictate everyday life, everything from zoning rules to mass transit routes and violence prevention programs. While most city councils have fewer than 10 members, larger metropolitan areas require massive operations, like Chicago's 50-member council, the largest in the nation. Together, these overlapping county and city structures serve as the primary engines for large-scale geographic and demographic problem-solving. But cities and counties face a major hurdle. State governments often place tight legal limits on how much money these local bodies are allowed to tax or borrow. Local leaders found a workaround, the special district. This is a specific unit of government designed to fund a single need, like firefighting or trash removal, by operating outside those traditional state financial limits. There are more than 37,000 special districts across the country. They actually comprise more than half of all local government units in the United States. One of the most universally accessible versions is the local school district. These elected school boards decide on budgets, programs, and buildings, and some have even begun granting actual voting power to student representatives. This complex web of districts functions as a flexible adaptation, allowing communities to fund essential survival services even when traditional governments hit a financial wall. Alongside these municipalities and special districts exists a completely separate parallel level of authority serving Native American populations, the tribal government. The more than 500 recognized tribes maintain intense functional independence. They levy their own taxes, run independent court systems, and often establish a full 3-branch government led by a tribal council. While tribal governments preserve sovereign power, another model pushes localized power to its absolute historical extreme, the New England township. At the center of the system is the town meeting, a rare example of direct democracy. Instead of electing representatives to decide for them, the citizens themselves gather to vote on local laws and approve public projects. Thomas Jefferson validated the historical importance of this direct self-government, citing the New England town as a perfect example of the principle in action. Both tribal governments and town meetings represent distinct methods of local governance, specifically adapted to preserve a community's ultimate independence. The sheer fragmentation of local government, the thousands of separate city councils, specialized boards, and districts, results in thousands of literal entry points for citizens to participate. Local officials often seek out constituent views in informal settings. Rather than waiting in distant capitals, they visit local coffee shops or set up booths at the county fair. There are also formal pathways for youth engagement. Programs like Chicago's Mikvah Challenge place students directly into the political process, allowing them to work in local elections and community organizing. An accessible network of overlapping, hyper-specific boards, councils, and districts manages the daily operations of a hometown. This highly localized system requires continuous, direct input from the community to function properly. The most effective, immediate political leverage available to an American citizen is waiting in a meeting room right down the street.